I was diagnosed with epilepsy at a young age. I was told not to swim. By that time, I was actually studying in a home school where that lady was a Muzungu. She had a swimming pool in her house. She had a bicycle. I was told not to ride a bicycle. I remember by that time I was about 10, 11. Those are the things we love to do most. I was told not to stay in the sun, so that means not playing football. I remember my dreams was to become a footballer. In a nutshell, you have no life, just die. This guy, by that time, he owned a studio. And he started reading them and he was like, but you don't, who wrote this? And I was like, yes, I wrote this. He's like, okay, could you rap these? I tried, but I failed. According to him, I failed. He's like, no, you're not a rapper. I also dropped out from school when I was in 12th grade. I was supposed to finish up and I thought that, by that time I already got a job. I was already working as a sports coordinator and I stopped school. When I was in college, my father promised me to support me, my uncle, my aunt, and my uncle went through a tough time. My aunt, so the support did not come complete as I was expecting. And remember, I just stopped working. And I remember the one who was sending me money for food was my wife.
By that time, your girlfriend? Okay.
It was my girlfriend. That time, she had a job. She had a job, and that job was not like everything, but she faithfully would send me money for food every month.
What?
Refugees camp. I would see how they live their life. I would see how they celebrate life. Just how, the things we're not grateful for. I came to realize how much ungrateful I am when I was there. I came to learn that there are many things that you should be grateful in life for. Because there's some people, they're grateful, but their circumstances are very hard. Sometimes we can't give people money, we can't keep them food, but the time, just the time to sit and just listen to a person. The time you can just sit and just share something with the person. The time that you can just spend just to speak a word of encouragement to that person. Don't we have that also? It takes a mother to raise a boy, but it takes a father to raise a man, because you cannot give what you don't have. A woman does not have manhood.
Woo!
So it takes a man to give manhood to another man, to pass what he had, to build a man. That's why if a child messes up in the society, we call him mama's boy, not mama's man, mama's boy, because all that mothers can do is to raise a boy. And the boy, here's the funny part, a boy, it means someone who's not matured. When a boy turns to a man, then he is matured.
And his daddies.
So maturity is built by father. And that dear KESHO is a dedication to my son, like dear KESHO, and that's why in those lyrics you hear me saying, kijana jana, leo baba, kesho babu. Binti jana, leo mama, kesho bibi, ustajabu. Panda leo vune kesho, kesho kutwa mahesabu.
Dear KESHO, nimemeleo kwa hewa na kipaza, ninapaza sauti, sikia huu ujumbe kila stanza. Feel the vibe, feel the hype, feel the nondos kwenye stanzas. Ushindi ni mtamu, je unaijua yake ladha? Jana leo baba, kesho babu. Binti jana leo mama, kesho bibi, brother usistajabu. Panda leo vune kesho, kesho kutwa mahesabu. Omba Mungu akupe upeo, majaribu sio adhabu.
Truth may loud, but it speaks, and when it does, it sets you free.
Hello and welcome to Thrive 365 podcast. Welcome again. If you have been in the previous episodes, I'm your host, Kevin Matili. And before we get to this episode today and I introduce the guests, I would like to first say thank you for those who have been watching these episodes. We've had 3-4 episodes so far, and I recently got a comment or feedback from somebody who said how impactful the previous episode was. And so I really want to thank you for taking the time. And as we continue, please stay tuned because there's still more episodes coming. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so right now. Now, let's get to today's episode. Today, we have somebody who I never really sat down and talked to him as long as we've talked today. And the last time we talked was just a chat and I was commenting on how he carries himself. He is a husband, he is a father, and a teacher, and a coach, which I'm really interested to know that he's a football coach. And this is none other than a rapper too, which I think that is what you stand by so much, right? As a rapper. Let's all welcome G-Stana. I was trying to remember the full name and I think it was a bit too long. Yeah, so where did G-Stana come from? All
right, thank you very much, Calvin. By the way, my names are Gwakisa Mwambungu.
For some reason, I was thinking, I don't know why I kept on remembering Gwamaka. I don't know. Because David from church has been saying that name.
No, not just him, actually. It's one of the common names in my tribe. I'm Nyakyusa from the Southern Highlands in Beakela. So in my family, my older brother is Gwamaka. And I get this confusion most of the times. It's easy for, I don't know why, it's easy for people to remember Gwamaka than Gwakisa.
Because I read the entire name, like, why do I remember Gwamaka? Because I know it's not Gwamaka. Okay, great. So where did G-Stana come from?
All right. It's crazy though. Growing up, when I was still in school, I was, I started writing songs, poetry and all that when I was still in school. So back then, people had nicknames, the people we look up to, in the secular world back then. And, trying to figure out which nickname would fit me, which nickname. And I would say it's more of just God giving me that name, because for me, like many people ask, why G-Stana? Why G-Stana? Like G stands for many things. It stands for greatness. It stands for my name, Gwakisa. It stands for God himself in my life. And Stan actually is coming from the word to stand. I use the Stana, the normal one, for the Swahili. Like, so it may be read even for a simple Tanzanian can just read it like in Swahili, Stana. But it's just the Stana, the S-T-U-N-N-E-R, that comes from the verb stun, like to stun, just to amaze people. Because I came up from a family whereby I feel like I was the black sheep. I had a past. I had my history back then. And to some people, they never believed that I would change. And I kept meeting some neighbors, those older men, and whenever they look at me, they're like, is it you? So for me, Stana is a benchmark. Every day, I'm living a life whereby I keep asking God that every time I meet people that I continue stunning them, that it's not the me they met before. Every day, if you meet me today, then the next time we meet, then I keep stunning you with the new things that God is doing in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a name. So for those who don't know who you are and probably have never met you before, and they're like, Kevin, who is this? And one of the things that stands out in your life, which I've come to know you for, is rapping.
Oh, yeah.
The last time you were at the youth concert, J&T, jeans and t-shirt, I heard you. I remember the performance that you had, which you were wearing a prisoner's outfit. It was orange, and you had chains, and you were singing, or rather rapping, with such vibrance and such energy. And then after that, I saw you. How I've been probably just observing how you relate, and it comes off how you carry yourself. So maybe give us, like, who is G-Stana? Like, where do you come from? Like, what's making you who you are right now?
Personally, I'll say Jesus makes me who I am today, because of the life. Like I said, many things, the things we pass through in life, they make us who we are today. And I would say I've been shaped a lot in my life, to the point that I thank God for my parents, for my teachers, for the people around me. I came from a lifestyle whereby I was taught to value people, to love people for who they are. And for me, I love me for who I am, and I love people for who they are. So, like what you say, the way I carry myself it's just how I'm just being me. And I because I'm just being me, I should feel free I should make people feel free to be them when they're with me. Because in life, most of the time, we demand a lot from people because we don't know people. I cannot demand you to be in a certain class while you're here. So all I can do is just to be with you on the same level. So those dynamics, through a lot of things in life, through the shaping of character, I came to learn that. And to me, I came to realize that in life, you just need to love people for who they are. You need just to respect people for who they are. It doesn't matter if they have money, if they don't. Just respect people for who they are, because we're dynamic. People change every day. Today, they might be a manager in the bank, and tomorrow sweeping the floors.
I was about to say a cleaner.
Yeah, today they're sweeping the floor.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you know, that's life. But it's not about the sweeping the floor or manager. Those are just the works they're doing that are changing, but it's the same person. So I'm just relating to the person. So most of my relationships with people is not because of what they have or from what background they're coming from. It's just who they are.
I believe I know processes make people.
Yeah.
What you go through refines you, builds you to who you are right now.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to your story as you have gone through a couple of things. You rap right now, but where did all this start? Like, where did rap start? Where did G-Stana start? Like, what's the background? Like, what's the thin line that we can connect and bring all of us to a point where we say, oh, if you connect these patterns, this is what makes you. So what's the story behind you?
I grew up in back then when we were growing up, back in late 1990s, early 2000s, actually. The music that we used to listen to was more of the dance music. It was the famous music in Tanzania. And back then, that's when hip-hop was coming, and it was a new generational thing. And, you know, just looking at the television and all that, all we see is, you know, these rappers and all that. So a little bit, we started, because I was tired of the dance music. I felt like it's not my thing. And, you know, just listening to those people is just inspiring me. And one thing that inspires me most about hip-hop, it's the writing part. The way, you know, in dance music, you know, someone might repeat maybe a chorus, but like in hip hop, in rap, someone who spit 16 bars, and back then it was like 16 to 24 bars, and a song had like 3 verses, and this person was trying to pass the message through these 3 verses. And
for those who don't know what dance music is, and then there's the word bars for those of us who don't do rap. What is dance music, and how does that relate? How does that compare?
I'm calling it dance music because, like in Swahili, you call it muziki wa dance. So ule muziki wa dance, you know, back then, you know, it was more like how can I put it? The zouk, you know, those type of genre. Yeah,
they're more of the less of the lyrics, more of the beat and the
beat, you know. So when we say bars, I mean those lyrics, strong ones, those, you know, the words which carry power, which carry passion, you know. For example, maybe I'll give, like, I respect this rapper from Uganda. I remember I was listening to his album opening song. There's some bars, I would say the lyrics are saying, if I was born in the ghetto, I would never left the ghetto. I'll build up the ghetto. That's my mindset. If I was born in the slums, I will never left the slums. I will beautify the slums. That's my mindset. So things like those, you know, you listen to that, you know, it feels like electricity. You know, there's a lot of meaning in just those 2 lines. You know that, you know, I came up from the ghetto. So why should I leave the ghetto just because I made it? And most people do that. They forget where they come from. So I'll come back and I'll make sure that it's no longer a ghetto. I'll make sure that life is better in that ghetto. So it's very small, very few words in a short sentence, but they have a very big picture. So when I was in school, I used to love writing. So I used to I tried writing a lot. But back then, what I was writing, it was more about me. That's the sad part. That's the sad part, because honestly, life is not just about you. But in the process, there are a lot of things that came, like I said, that started shaping me. Then came to realize that, you know what I was doing actually is just self-centered. That's selfishness. And back then I used to write, and I met someone who, and I don't know how can I put it, I used to love my writings. So I used to have like a pamphlet, and I would type them actually, and I would print them, and I'll put them in there. So I used to write songs, but at that time I was not even rapping.
Wait, you would write songs?
I would write lyrics.
But not perform them?
But no.
So what were you writing them for?
Like I'm saying, it's just something that you just love and you just keep writing. You're writing. So I was writing.
How old were you then?
I was around, by the time I started writing like hip hop songs and all that, I was around 14, 15.
You were writing hip hop songs at 15?
Yeah, 14, 15.
And probably you were at what grade? Probably class?
Grade 9.
Grade 9, somewhere there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because before that, I said I used to play a lot of football. So it was football. But when I free time, I would do writing. So
what you're telling me is the writing would consume you more than football?
Back then, football consumed me more than writing.
Okay.
But as a, I can't say more because I would play football in the evening.
Okay.
But most of the time when I'm in class, sometimes I will stop doing what I'm supposed to do. And, I will just go in the back of my and start writing stuff. But also in the night when I'm just at home.
Crazy story. I relate a little bit in that. I dropped out of school. And that was Form 6. I've said that probably in the last couple of episodes. And I did that because I was, after analyzing for some years, it was partly because I was seeking something that school was not giving me. And I figured out that there was this business that I was interested in, and I was like, this is promising. And I would want to engage in it because it's giving me something to do with direction and meaning in life.
Okay.
So I took that journey, tried to start a business, which did not really do as well. But I got a lot of lessons out of it. And with that journey, I came to a point where I realized that I can only find my identity not in that thing that I'm seeking for, rather in God. So I relate in that because I remember there's a point during my Form 5s, if not Form 6, we were doing a mock exams. And I had this passion to communicate stuff and write stuff, to write poems, to write spoken word poems. I just wanted to write.
Yeah.
And so I remember I went into that examination room and I really did not study probably for the last 6-7 months. So I knew I wouldn't really feel as much on those papers. So what I did with the left time after I answered the question that I could answer, pulled the pieces of papers. I pulled the answer sheets and I started writing. And I was writing lines. If you can call them bars, I don't know if they're bars, but I was writing lines. And for me, it was just a desire to express, and probably it relates in that context. So what happened next?
So what happened next is that I met someone. He read now when I met this person, it was way later. I met someone at church. By that time, I started going to a certain community church.
At 15?
No, that's not at 15. It was a couple of years later.
Okay.
So this guy was, he was interested. And, he looked, I don't know how, but he saw, I used to walk around with them and he was reading them. This guy, by that time, he owned a studio. And he started reading them and he was like, but you then who wrote this? And I was like, yes, I wrote this. He's like, okay, could you rap these? I tried, but I failed. According to him, I failed. He's like, no, you're not a rapper, but stick to writing. You have a gift to write. And by that time, actually, I was already desiring to rap. But when I was in school, break times, all that, we'll start hitting the tables, for beats. And I had a friend of mine who could spit bars. Right now, he's in the United States of America, and I know he's still doing it. There's still that desire, and I would say I wanted to do better. So the journey started to trying to do better every day, like I was saying, to stand people every day. So from the moment that he told me that I could not rap, to the point that now I started going to his studio and recording songs. So every day I'll say, we learn these lessons that, to never give up. Like you say, I also dropped out from school when I was in 12th grade. I was supposed to finish up, and I thought that, you know, by that time I already got a job. I was already working as a sports coordinator, and I stopped school. And another part of my life is that I worked because the system I was working, since I started from primary, we're just given certificates by the time we finished high school. So it would mean all that time was for nothing. I literally started working without any certificate since 2011. I was doing some part-time jobs. By 2013, it was a full-time job up to 2020, imagine. And I moved from just schools. I worked in a school, an international school. I worked in NGOs. So, you know, all these areas. I worked for research companies, and
with no
certificate.
As in no high school certificate.
No certificate.
Oh, so how did they take you? What were you doing there?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you say, identity. Just know who you are. Just know who you are, and how you live with people matter. Because there's a way a person would recommend you.
Whoa.
There's a way, just the way you live with people, the way they will recommend you. It makes just the other person, like, it doesn't need other stuff. The way that person just recommended, it's enough for them.
So you're telling me that you did not use certificate as your currency to get a job. You used relationship, and you were stewarding your relationships in a way. Would you say that?
How can I put this? I remember working for, I had a friend who had her, how can I put it? Her own business.
Okay.
And she would hire me to do, you know, to do things with her. She used to do event plannings.
Okay.
And trust me, she would call me. And she believed me because of the engagement we had, because of the relationship we had at church. And I remember one of the biggest events we did in that event planning was the launch of Smile for G by that time.
Okay.
And I remember I was the one who was actually supposed to deal with the high table. And I was there talking to people like Mama, by that time, Mama Tabombeki. And it didn't guarantee my certificate. For her, the way she knew me, she knew that I'm capable to do that job. So just how you expose yourself to people, the small things you're given by people, how you deliver matters. So also I was called for an interview. That's the funny part. I was called for an interview. I never applied for that job, but I was called for an interview. So I came to realize that someone actually had, you see? So someone had connected me. It means that these guys were looking for a person and my name popped up. And so I went to that job. Actually, in my life, I only applied for one job that I got. Not that I've not applied, I've applied for many jobs, but that was one of the jobs that I applied and I got. But other jobs that I worked, I did not apply for them. I was actually called. You know, someone calls you and says, you know, come. There's something I would like us to do. There's something I would like you to do here. So that was that. I remember when I just finished working with a certain school. I did not want to continue working there. 2 months later, I met a person at Mlimani City and she was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I am not doing anything right now. It's like, I'm starting a company. Why don't you? I would love you to come and be part of that company. I have 1, 2, 3. And I went, visited her, we talked, and I got a job. And that's life.
So from what you're saying, if I'm getting you correctly, is there's a value that most young people have placed in certificates. Now, not to say that certificates are not important. They have a place. Though there is a value that young people have placed in certificate in such a way we feel that if I have this thing, it can give me gate pass, it can give me access. I just need to focus on this. So we forget things like character, we forget things like greeting people, saying hello, you know, giving people gifts, or just creating relationships. if what I'm learning from you is that despite not completing the education where most people have, you have been able to understand that people are the valuables here. And if I can relate well with people, it's not like you strategically said, I'm going to relate well with people so they give me access, unless if you did that. Though it appears to you've put value in the right place and you have related with people in the right way, and that has opened doors for you.
Yeah, that's true. That really opened doors for me. I would say I've learned that from my father. Just though my father used to know many people. I can say still he knows many people of rich, those who are just in a normal status, poor, some people in state, some people, people from different dynamics, and that did not change him, and he valued them for who they are. So I would say that's something that I learned from my father. But also whenever we're at home, those are the simple things that we were reminded in our house, the simple things that our mother also used to reinforce in us. Just to respect people, as you say, greet people. But also, as you say, sometimes I think it's more of a Tanzanian thing. We believe a lot in the certificates. Now, certificates don't make who we are. That's why in one, you say you're listening to my album. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you finished, but there's a song nearly at the end. It's called "What You Gonna Do."
You've performed that song?
No.
You haven't? Okay.
It's called "What You Gonna Do." I did about, I'll say 9 years ago.
Yeah. We're going to get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But bottom line of the story, why I did that song, I was thinking about, don't tell me what you're going to say. It's just say, don't tell me what you're going to say, what you're going to do about that. That's the same thing, certificates just speak about what is there. But what you do, I don't know how can I put it. I would rather, what I do show you, because, because I say, like in that song, I say, usiseme unampenda. Don't tell them that you love them. Love them. It's not about just, in Swahili it makes more sense, usiseme unampenda. Mpende kwanza unamsema kwa bashasha. Mpende kwanza. Don't speak, but these certificates, some people have gotten A just because he was just stealing answers from others, he's copying and pasting. But when we come to reality, how can he apply that A? So for me, I dropped out from school. Actually, I finished my 12th grade in 2019. I literally went back and I finished it. 2019, I finished.
Wow. And
it was because of the pressure, but also because I learned one thing in life: always finish what you've started.
That is so good.
It shows discipline.
Say that again.
Regardless of what you've gone through, it shows discipline. So for me, I went back.
Finish what you started.
And I finished what you started. Because here's the funny thing, is that a job half done is not done at all. So why have I wasted all the years? To 12th grade. Let me just go finish it. So I humbly went back to school in 2018. Whoa. At that time, I was doing my 12th grade and I was doing my certificate in college. So I killed two birds with one stone.
Before we pass that, just like that, what did it, because I believe to go back to something that you might have thought is probably beneath you at that time. Mm-hmm. What did that take? Because that's a lot of humbling.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of humbling. What did that take? What state of heart did you have to be able to go back to that place to finish what you started?
Number one, first of all, I was challenged. In 2017, I wanted to get married.
Ha! Let's go.
Yeah, and my uncle just told me, you know what? Because by that time I was just doing contracts, just small contracts in research.
Okay, and contract jobs. So you're making money out of short-term contracts of some sort. Okay.
And I was making good money.
As a researcher?
Yeah.
Okay.
As a data collector, actually.
Okay.
Putting it in more, I like it called data collection, just collecting the data.
Okay.
So my uncle told me, it's good that you want to get married, but you don't have a sustainable income. Like, you don't have an income that comes monthly, month after month. And what are you going to feed this? And I just told Uncle, it's just going to be okay. My uncle would not understand me. And he kept challenging me. To me, I would say I took a step of faith, because in my heart, this is what I told myself. You know what? Let me give them what they want so that I may get what I need. So I went back to school. I finished, by that time I went to college so that I may get a certificate. And at that time, I remember that I had another issue to finish. I spent the same time, like now this time, I'll just sit down and finish what's called school. And I managed, and I thank God for that grace. It was one of the tough times, but very humbling times. And it's a time which even shaped my relationship with my wife, actually. It's the same woman I promised to marry in 2016, which I wanted to marry in 2017. And same woman who's the mother of my 2 sons right now.
So by that time you were schooling. By that time you're still dating her or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I say that time actually it magnified the relationship.
What made it magnify the relationship?
Because I remember when I was in college, my father promised me to support me, my uncle, my aunt, and my uncle went through a tough time. My aunt, so the support did not come complete as I was expecting. And remember, I just stopped working, and I faced a lot of
insufficient funds.
Yeah, insufficient funds and all that. And I remember the one who was sending me money for food was my wife.
By that time, your girlfriend?
Yeah, okay. Was my girlfriend. That time she had a job. She had a job, and that job was not like everything, but she faithfully would send me money for food every month.
What?
When I was in college.
Okay.
So, yeah, as I say, there are things we pass through. God is just showing you that, and every lesson I learned, it added more wisdom in my life. And I thank God for that. Every step that I took. So back to what we're talking about. So I finished school. But also at that time, that's what made me realize that, and when I went, actually I was a good instrument to the young, because I went to college to study a certificate. By the way, in Form 4, I did two curriculums. I also did Nectar. And in Nectar, I had a Division 4, 26, Form 4. For me, that was not a step back. To me, I know I've reaped what I saw. But to me, that does not define me. And that's what I tell people. To me, those answers there don't define me. Because that is how they want to define me. But how do I define myself? It's just like in the Bible, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. In my heart, I've never thought as a failure. To me, I don't care what life calls me. I don't care what my results tell me. But I believe I'm not a failure. So that's number one. So I never believed in that. And I went to college. I finished my certificate, had my good grades. And, people were just amazed. But I kept telling the kids that were there, like the young ones were coming. And I became very good friends with even those who are coming for bachelors. I was telling them, some of you are here because it's the next stage of life. That, I'm done with grade 12, I'm done with Form 6, I'm going to college. Mm-hmm. Some of you are here because your parents made sure that you come here. And I told them, some people who are here, they know why they're here. So I told them, I know why I'm here. I came to get my certificate so that I may get a job. And they thought I was joking. And after that certificate, I got it in 2020, and I got a job. And I left the city of Dar, and that was the time which I was quiet, even in my writing, in my songs. That's when I went to Kigoma. I started working in refugee camps, in a refugee camp in Kigoma.
Before we go to that part, because I feel like there's just so much to your story, there's something that you said and it made me ask a question. You were in school, but you were so firm about who you are and the confidence in yourself, knowing exactly why I'm here. And most young people who are in school, like you've said, are either told to go to school, or it's the culture, you're supposed to go to school, and they're still finding themselves. How is it that you had such a strong self-esteem and strength in your own identity? Where is the root for that? Because most young people will be there and just, I'm just here, I can do whatever, I can go this direction, but you're like so focused, like, this is me, this is not defining me, I'm going this direction. Where is the root of that?
For me, I'll boldly say the root for that is God, because by that time I was already, okay, I'm sorry, but say, coming from a religious family, there's a difference between religion and salvation. By that time, I was already in salvation, experiencing salvation, knowing Christ as my Lord and my Savior. By that time, actually, I went in a Christian school. So that's what I come to realize, how true the Bible is when I say raise a child in the way they should go. Because in school, they would instill us these Bible verses every day. They never made sense when we're young. But when your brain now starts to processing those materials, now you are in the age whereby you can process the materials, because when you get something, first you need to understand it. When you understand it, that's when you can apply it. So the moment I started understanding, I remember a scripture verse we used to sing, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But God has not given us the spirit of fear, but a power and love, sound mind. What is a sound mind? By that time now, my mind was sound. I knew exactly what I need in my life. And
how old were you by then?
By that time, I was already past 19.
Okay.
By that time, when I was way past 20. But by that time, I came to realize, and for me right now, that what I do, I even try to instill that to the young kids right now, so that they may start knowing themselves, who they are. They may start knowing their identity right now. The earlier, the better. So for me, I don't blame myself to know it later, but I also thank God why I learned. I thank God and understand why I had to learn it later on in life. Maybe it was because if I had learned earlier, the people that I met in life by that time would not be impacted by what I had to impact them through how I lived. So it is very important to know yourself. So for me, that thing, school, it introduced me that my identity is not in what I do. Okay, wow. The Bible actually even made it more clear. And even as I'm growing up, I come to understand this lesson better and better, that it is not about, when I say our war is not in flesh and blood. It's
not carnal, it's not flesh and blood.
It's in the spiritual realm. But also in the spiritual realm, it's all about identity, like what you say. Eve failed the test because of identity. Because she believed that her identity is through the knowledge of good and evil. But, God had already made her in his own nature, in his own image, in his own nature. So she forgot that her identity is in the one who made her in the nature. So by nature, she was a God. But she was told, no, the day you eat, you become God. But you see how the devil is using the same thing. The same thing. The moment that Jesus came from being baptized, and God said, this is my beloved who? Son, that I'm well pleased of. The next chapter, the devil is saying, if you are really the Son of God, now turn this. So Jesus knew his identity is not into turning to prove that he's the Son of God. In some areas of it, you don't need to prove to people. You just be you. Sometimes people want you, that, so that you may be better, maybe dress this way, or dress like this, so that you may be seen as someone. No. If you already know who you are, you don't need to dress to be, if you know the authority you have. It's all about the knowledge. Just know who you are. Just know the authority you have. Know where to apply it. Very simple.
Powerful.
So for me, I came to realize, and I'm also realizing it more and more, it's just about understanding the concept, understanding the way of life, understanding people. Like I say, you just understand people, just understand the Word of God, because that's our compass. It's directing us where we may go. And just also in my journey in Christianity, because I also met people who were Christian, and I came to realize also why we struggle. And because every time we read the Bible, we read about other people's experiences. Now, my question is, what's your experience? Because David says that God is my shepherd, I shall not want. You read David's story in his experience, he's never wanted in his life. So he's telling you something that he has experienced. Now, what do you have to tell me that you have experienced? Okay? What experiences of God in your life do you have? So for me, in my life, by that time when you're saying, why was I confident enough? Because my confidence comes from God. Because I grew up, I was diagnosed with epilepsy. At a young age, I was told not to swim. By that time, I was actually studying in a home school where that lady was a Muzungu. It's a white lady. She had a swimming pool in her house. She had a bicycle. I was told not to ride a bicycle. I remember by that time, I was about 10, 11. Those are the things we love to do most. I was told not to stay in the sun, so that means not playing football. I remember my dreams was to become a footballer. So, in a nutshell, it's like you have no life, just die. You see? And so I had to go to Milembe Hospital in Dodoma. I used to go with my father. You know? And some people call you crazy because you're going to Milembe. And I remember even the people in my streets, some people, because, you know, my mom, you know, mothers, you know, they had to say, you know, some things like, you know, you don't need to, because, you know, when we were growing up, we liked fighting back then, you know, and my mom was like, hey, guys, he has a problem. So if you do it, so people were taking advantage of that. They would tease me. So I was tired of that life. I was like, how long will I live this life? I'm told to take medication for years. Every day I'm drinking medication. You know, I don't know what came to me, but at that age, I stopped taking medicine. And the day I stopped taking medicine was the day that from that day on till today, I never had any episode of epilepsy. From that day, I kept swimming, and I was a good swimming student. I kept playing football, and I've played football up to semi-pro. Today I'm a coach, I'm coaching football. I'm still in the sun, which they told me not to be in. If my wife was here, we would say, I cook. I was told not to be in the kitchen.
In the kitchen.
I cook. The days I cook for my children, the days I just said, I'm cooking. So those things should not be fun. Actually, matter of fact is, you know, the devil is a liar. By 2004, there was no epilepsy in me. 2004, 2005. I was diagnosed with hepatitis B.
After epilepsy. Now, before we go to hepatitis B, just give us an idea of epilepsy. What is it, and when somebody has it, what can they do and what can't they do? Like, what is it inhibiting them to do? How does it manifest?
The way it manifests, for me, I can't explain it because, you know, by that time you're unconscious. But what they say is like, it's like you're being shocked and, you know, what do I say? Yeah, foam is coming out from your mouth, you know. And it was, you know, I don't want to talk about it because I've witnessed people. And but I came to realize, that's why it's experienced. For me, I tell people, God heals. Not because I read somewhere.
Because you experienced
Because
healing.
I've experienced healing. So for me, that's my experience. That's my story. I carry it. I tell people when I tell them that Jehovah Rapha, God heals. I am not joking. I'm not talking about he healed, or I heard that he healed someone, or I read in the book of Matthew that, you know, Peter and John went to pray and, you know, they found someone over there and they healed. No, because he healed me. Not just one disease. Like I told you, hepatitis B, it came. And the question I asked, because they told me, you know, and a friend of mine, actually my neighbor, who was studying pharmacy in England, just came back. And that day, as I was talking to him, I was feeling sick throughout time. He looked at me and he told me, your eyes are yellow. I think maybe it might be yellow fever, but we need to go and check. He actually took me, not my parents, he took me to the hospital. We went to the hospital and we checked. He said, it's not yellow fever. That's when they discovered that it was hepatitis B.
What is that? I've heard of it, never experienced it. What is that?
I don't know how can I explain it, but it affects your liver.
I've heard of it. I've never experienced it, and I don't want to experience it.
It affects your liver. Actually, it makes your fetus white. Your eyes become yellow. You know, I was feeling very weak, like malaria type of sort of. I don't really remember that much, but I remember that is what I was told I have. And when I asked, what is the way out? I was told, no, it's a viral disease.
It does not have a cure.
Does not have a cure.
You said it makes your excretion white.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
So I had all the symptoms and all that. So what's happening now? But I never gave up on life. Miraculously, it went away.
Just like that? You didn't do anything? You didn't decide anything? What did you do?
My friend, I was just told, first of all, that by that time, you should eat a lot of sugar cane just to help you, you know. So I started eating sugar cane, and I did not eat them that much. By the end of that year, I had no hepatitis B. So for me, I came to understand that there's something greater that God is calling me to do. And, you know, now then things started to manifest in my life. Then I would start to see the vision now in my life. Coming to realize, like what you were asking me earlier, I told you I was writing, it was more selfish. It was more, came to realize that even a vision is like a tree. That's what the Bible says, without vision, people live with no order. A vision is like a tree. Any vision from God is just like a tree. When I say it's like a tree, it's a tree of fruits. Because the tree with fruits does not feed it. It is there for other people. So I came to also to learn that in my time when I'm just studying about vision, that even when, Joseph had a vision, it was for other people. Just God uses you as an instrument. So if it is just about you, it's an ambition. But I came to learn this in my studies, listening to other people out there who are also born again, who are teaching these things. Then I came to realize that, yeah, this is a vision, because it is catering for other people. It's not about me. The cross was about us. It was about our salvation. That vision was for the better good for us. You see, Paul, we're reading today Corinthians, Colossians. It's about the people. Vision outlives people. Steve Jobs, he's well dead and gone. But we're still using Apple. You know, so vision, it caters for other people. That's the power of vision.
One of the strongest statements that I've picked is an ambition is about you. Yeah. And that's where you were ambitious. I think the Bible also says there's a part where it writes self-ambition. You know, some of the things that, you know, flesh, self-ambition is about you.
It's about me.
Then a vision outlives you, because what you're saying is hitting me real hard, because I'm starting to think and process and remember and pinpoint things out. This is really actually a vision. This is what God is pushing me towards. So this is very powerful. I think it speaks so much to the person who is trying to figure out which one is God. I think one of the tips that you've just shared right now is one is selfish, one is selfless. Selfless, most likely, take that direction. Selfish, I think you need to reconsider. Yeah. So I wanted us to go back to Kigoma. You are now at Kigoma and you're working there. What happened from there on?
Kigoma, first of all, I believe that God took me to Kigoma to learn other things in life.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to Kigoma. I learned a lot of things. I came to, just as I said, you know, to me, my life any day is I just live with people the way
Yes.
I treat people for who they are. So I met refugees. So I started sympathizing with the refugees, coming to hear their stories. Sometimes we hear stories in the, Deutsche Welle, DW, BBC. But, there I was just there in the center of refugees camp. I would see how they live their life. I would see how they celebrate life. Just how, the things we're not grateful for. I came to realize how much ungrateful I am when I was there. I came to learn that there are many things that you should be grateful in life for. Because there's some people, they're grateful. But the circumstances are very hard. And sometimes we blame our parents, we blame people. But when we look at the life we're living and the life those people are living, it's very different. Actually, I was a data clerk in the Department of Food Basket Monitoring. So we were actually monitoring the distribution of the food that these people were given. Can you believe someone is given 13 kilograms of maize flour for 6 weeks? An individual. That's his food for 6 weeks.
13 kilograms, 6 weeks. 6 weeks is really 42 days.
42 days.
42 days, if you work on that, 1 kilo is like how many? Okay, that's not enough.
And they're given 2.5 something ration of dried peas or beans
for the same 6 weeks.
42.
For 42 days.
For 42 days.
If you count, so basically they're not going to be eating 3 meals a day. Totally. Mm-hmm. They must be eating 1 meal a day, but they will have to eventually skip some days to be able to fill it in.
So they're surviving. And we claim that we're surviving.
My goodness.
So another thing that I came to learn when I was there, actually I came to learn just to be compassionate.
Wow.
And just to be understanding. And just to love people. I became very good friends with some of the refugees, and some of them up to today they'll still ring me, they'll still text me. Just remember that someone remind me, say, we just remember the way we lived with you. So to me that stood out. If people remember how you lived with them, I don't know how many people passed, but the fact that we just find my number and just call me, and just text me, and just remind me of the times we spent together, I came to realize that, sometimes we can't give people money, can't give them food, but the time.
Shoo.
Just the time to sit and just listen to a person. The time you can just sit and just share something with a person. The time that you can just spend just to speak a word of encouragement to that person. Don't we have that also?
In a world of social media where we can scroll for 6 hours and stay on screen for another 3 hours and stay on Netflix for another 4 hours, it becomes very interesting to know that we are missing on some of these things that could make a difference in people's lives.
They could make a very big difference. So just loving people, talking to them, listening to them, have some fun time together. Fun times might not be a big party, pork and all. No. Even just buying a soda. Just a soda and share it. To someone else, you've made their day.
Bro, you're
and they might remember you for the rest of their lives.
Oh my God. You didn't come for the audience, you came for me. I'm joking.
Yeah, so...
Wow.
So those things. So I learned a lot when I was there. I learned how to live with people, to just be patient with people, because I was in a camp. We're living with people with different characters. I came to learn actually how life really is. Okay, but also another biggest lesson I learned, because by that time I wanted to get married. So God has His own plans, because God took me somewhere interior, whereby He knew that I needed the money to save. So when I was there, their life was very cheap. Actually, I was not spending that much. I was actually 75% of my salary used to just remain in the bank. And it helped me to, to pay the bride price, the process, to start the process and everything. I got married because most of the money that helped me in my life, to start my life with my wife, came from Kigoma.
Looks like God exposed you in a different life, teach you a couple of things, but also not just to the advantage of your character, but also to set and establish your marriage.
Yeah. God has a funny way of working things.
Tell me about it.
Sometimes he might be teaching you a lesson and at the same time using you to bless other people.
Yeah, I get it.
Things may be that way. So, like for me, I would always remember Kigoma. For me, it was not a refugees camp, it was a training camp.
They should take that and put it on an ad.
Yeah, so for me, I learned a lot. I faced a lot of challenges even in my work. And I came to realize also it's another place where I boldly, people, because when I left Kigoma, I just did not want to continue working there. I did not, because they were given a contract annually every year. Because, they say that those camps, they're not going to be there forever. So they might be shut down. So we're given end of mission every year. And we sign again another new contract. So we're given a contract every year. So I decided to sign my end of mission and not to sign any new contract. And people asked me, by that time, I did not even apply for any other job. And people asked me, so you are leaving? Well, by that time, they were closing that camp. I was living in Mtendeli camp, though I was working in Duta camp. So I was working 50-something kilometers from where I was staying. Now, most of my colleagues were working at, some of them were confused that the camp closed. And to me, in my mind, I'm like, so I want to work in a refugees camp, so I want people to be refugees every day. Sometimes like, okay, it's funny, but it's funny though. Instead of me, I pray that they get better life, because this is not a life. Though we benefit, sometimes because someone's misery, we're benefiting from it. And some people were really benefiting from that. But at the end of the day, for me, I felt in my heart that time for me to be in Kigoma was over. By that time, I'd already married my wife. I felt in my heart that it's time for me to come back to Dar.
So did you get married in Kigoma or did you come back?
I came here to get married and then I went back to work in Kigoma.
And this time you already had your certificate.
Yeah, actually my certificate, my certificate took me to Kigoma.
Ooh, so you're going back to school with also God to get you there.
After I finished, the same year I finished, it was the year that COVID, there was a lockdown.
Whoa.
And when I was in that lockdown, when I say relationships, when we were in Iringa, I didn't mention, there's a time I was working in Iringa doing some research, data collection for a certain company, and we had a project in Iringa. So we did like baseline, we did a midline, and we did endline survey for that specific project. And that project, actually, the baseline opened doors for me to other projects.
When you say baseline, midline, endline, what's that in simple terms?
Yeah, actually in statistics, like when people are doing research, they always have a baseline, like a point where we begin.
Like a reference point, like a foundation point.
Foundation point that we begin to research on a certain matter.
Okay.
And then we'll come in the middle, and then we come and finish that, and we do an evaluation on how everything went. So I remember that opened doors to another job. The same company, and that boss of mine was like, could you do something like this? And I'm like, I can't say that I can't, but I can always learn. That's because I know my strength, and when I remember when they were interviewing me that day, they asked me, and I told them exactly, I know I'm strong in this area, that area, and that area, but in other areas I can learn. So there's always room to learn. And it's funny though, I'm sharing it. In that interview, I remember they asked me how much I was expecting to be paid. And the answer I gave them, today I'm laughing, I don't know why I answered them that day. I told them, whatever you give me, I'll be satisfied, but I'm here to learn. So for me, by that time, it was more, I wanted to learn more about research. And I went to college to study statistics. So I went to take a certificate in statistics. So I did a National Vocational Award in statistics. So I just came to fall in love with statistics. I fell in love with research, traveling around Tanzania. Actually, right now I would say I've traveled all regions except 5 in Tanzania. So I managed to go out there. I had a very understanding coordinator.
I was about to say coordinator.
Yeah, coordinator. He trusted me after the first job, the second one, the third job, he made me a team leader. So, you know, the way you live with people and the way you show them that I'm capable of doing, you know, I can learn this, I can learn that, I can do this better. You know, always be humble enough to know that, you know, I'm just in a training ground. Whatever I'm given, just to do it with all your heart. I remember I learned to do transcribing when I was with my boss. I started doing transcribing. And today there are people who actually look for me to do transcriptions. And I remember one of the biggest highlight I had in transcription, someone emailed me and told me there's a transcript I sent her, and she told me, the transcript you sent me was not done by you. I told her, yeah, it was not done by me because I told you guys I don't have time, but you told me to find someone else to do it. And I found someone else, and she did that. She was like, I knew that you didn't do it. And I asked her why. She said, because whenever I read your transcript, I don't have to listen to the audio. So for me, that stood out. But where did I learn to transcribe? When I was introduced to different researchers by my coordinator. He gave me an opportunity to learn. I did not hold back. I went and learned. But because there was a heart to learn something, then you become better in that. Learn, practice, perfect it. Think of new ways. Think of better ways of bettering what you have. So for me, it was amazing time. So amazing moment, not just traveling around, but learning many things. As usual, again, getting to know people from different areas in Tanzania. So it was an exciting moment. Sometimes there were tough moments, but even in those tears you cry, tough times, there's always a lesson. If there's no lesson you learn through that, then the tears you shed are for nothing.
Before I take us to the rap and how rap comes in here and where rap has taken you so far and what you're looking towards in the area of rap and beyond. I am thinking about the way I'm trying to put my thoughts. I'm trying to put my thoughts together.
Okay.
The way transcribing. I transcribe right now. I transcribe,
Nice.
and I know. Transcribing has been a training ground for me.
Yes.
In ministry, part of the church. I transcribe, right? That's one of the places I serve. And I remember the beginning times, how difficult that was. Honestly, it felt like hard work because you need to listen, hear, write that. Were you doing it hard copy or digitally? Were you typing it?
I was typing.
Yes, you need to listen and write. So I remember how much that really pushed me to listen, to hear, to write. I had to learn how to type. I had to focus. And after I do the transcription, because you have to look at the screen for hours and you need to move like 30 seconds and you probably need 5 minutes to write 30 seconds. So knowing how difficult transcribing is, and for somebody to say that I did not need to listen to the audio, that shows of how much diligent you were in doing that work and putting your heart into it, because it needs a lot of detail. So this person must have read through a couple of transcripts with audio and realized after some time, G-Stana doesn't really need, I don't really need to listen to this. So that says a lot about you. And I'm like, wow. Do you still transcribe today? No.
Yeah, I'm still transcribing. So most of the time when people come to me, I would like to know how do you want me to transcribe your job? Actually, for me personally, I'll say anything that comes to you, just know how can you make it how can I put it? Just make it, you know, God has given us a sound mind. He has given us creative minds. You know, our God is too creative. Like, you know, reading the Bible, you find that God is too creative even to use the same miracle twice. Even Jesus, he healed the blind, more than one blind person, but he never used the same technique.
Different ways, yeah.
He's so creative, and we're given the mind of the maker. For me, it was more of when I'm transcribing.
For those who don't know what transcribing is, they might have left it. Transcribing is turning audio to text. Like whether it's a video or that's audio, you are turning it to text. So you're either writing it on a hard copy or you are typing it on digital. You can use that for so many things. They use it for subtitles. They can use that probably to publish a paper, write a book, etc., etc.
Yeah, actually, as you said, actually, even me, I was actually transcribing the same time translating.
Yeah.
Because most of them were in Swahili.
Yeah.
And then the client is not a Tanzanian, does not know Swahili.
Yeah.
So I should prepare it for a client. So to me, I was thinking, for me, when I'm transcribing, because I know Swahili, I know English. Now, because I know English, I'm trying, whenever I'm transcribing, I'm trying to make sure this, because, you know, the thing being the middle, you need to make the person understand the sentence fully from this person, what he meant.
Yes.
So for me, I would go straight on what he meant, and I'll put it more of in a conversational way, whereby when you're reading, it's like it's as if you're reading a story. So even because sometimes that's why for me, like for corporate people, sometimes not for corporate, there's some researchers, they just want you word to word. For me, I'm like, nah.
To lose something.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, nah, because if we go word to word, it's Swahili. There's some things you will miss. There's some things won't make sense.
True.
So I have to find a way that the sentence that he has said, how can I put it in English and it makes the same sense and meaning from what he said? So that's my part. That's how I would write my transcripts, and that's how I would send them. So for me, for my clients, whenever they want word to word, I would tell them, nah, really. If you want to work with me, this is the way. For me personally, I could do word to word, but there's some places, because it's Swahili and I have to translate. If it is just English, put it into writing word to word, the client it's okay.
So how does rap come to this part of your story?
Okay, all this time, it's not that I had stopped rapping or thinking about music and all that. I would still make music. But when I was going to Kigoma, before I went to Kigoma actually, back then I had already started rapping in 2011. And I met a couple of friends in church. And I came to realize that we had a very good pastor who was supporting rap music. And he would tell us that you young ones can deliver a message better than me. So he would tell us that this month, maybe, or these 3 weeks, or these 7 weeks, I'll be preaching maybe about the kingdom of God. So I would like you guys maybe to write a song or 2 or 3. Then I'll be giving you some time for you to present it to the young ones to understand. So I like him because he made me to come understand and come engage myself into doing rap music that praises God. So we would start researching on the same content and start writing. I remember the first song we wrote with my friend, it was called Father. He was doing a father series. And we had to write a song concerning fatherhood, concerning a father, God as father. And it was amazing. We managed to do that song. And then the second time, he called us to do something else. That by that time, we inspired another person. And that brother of mine, Never 25, he calls himself, the first person I worked with in that time. I found him in that church. He was rapping. It was Isaac, Young Ike. He used to call himself Young Ike or Ike. I with then C. So we later formed a group. It was called Luminous Maximus. Actually, it was something I was writing in my, I had a counter book that I was writing lyrics. There's a day we're just practicing and I saw the word Luminous Maximus in my counter book. Like, why shouldn't we call our group this when we're finding the name for the group? and then became Luminous Maximus, small light in Latin. So that was the group name, and we started rapping. And it was just about just praising God. It was just about the fun of being together and just rapping. And that's when I fell in love even doing gospel hip hop. So we started doing gospel rap. We started rapping and rapping. Then by the time it was in 2016, going 2017, things changed, you know. And by that time, another group was formed. I was not part of that group. It was called Eternal House. And so by that time, it was like, maybe I should just go solo. At that time, I wanted to do, and before that, actually, I wanted to do a solo project, which I don't want to talk much about it. It was supposed to be it was a mixtape, but haikutendewa haki. So that's why I like to leave it there. So later I met with my brother and Landre. We wanted to do a project because of knowing people, talking to people, people seeing your potential. Actually, Landre in the gospel rap music for Tanzania, when we say internationally, Landre had been doing well by that time internationally. And he used to rap in English. By the way, by that time, Luminous Maximus, we used to rap in English. So we were the new kids in the block. And other rappers thought maybe tunajiona sana. They're like, yeah, these guys they feel proud maybe because they speak English and all that. But by that time, I was challenged. Like, so what about the Tanzanians? So for me, my strength was to write in English. So I had to start learning how to write in Swahili and deliver it in Swahili.
Oh,
so I had to unlearn some things and force myself to do that. And by that time, I met Alandre. I had already met Alandre. We were already friends. He's a big brother we're looking up to. Yeah, they had their group, Bon Kings, and all that. And in that time, we wanted to do an EP. Mm-hmm. Alandre connected me in 2015. I was part of an EP. I remember by that time there was a xenophobia in South Africa. And some rappers all over Africa wanted to do something. So there is a project.
It's like an event, like a project.
It was a project. It was an EP that came out that year. It was called We Are One Africa. Limo Blaze was in that EP. I was in that EP. Alandre was in that EP. DMY was in that EP. In Tanzania, it was me, DMY, and Alandre. You know, in South Africa, there is someone like Black Newborn. You know, people like, was Pompey in that EP? Not sure if Pompey. Magnus 44 was in that EP. Ruyonga in Uganda. David Kalilani from Malawi, Samuel from Malawi, Nigeria was Limo Blaze, and there is a friend of Limo Blaze used to call Charles Dogo. He's late right now. He passed away. He used to suffer from sickle cell. So Kenya was Chris Arrow. So in that, I managed to be part of that, but it's because Alandre, when we were like in Tanzania, you know, he thought about me and he mentioned my name, and those guys contacted me and we did that project. And I was like, okay, I've already done that project. When I look at the mixtape I wanted to release, it wasn't that. So after 2 years, I wanted to do something else, 2017. That's when I was telling you the song I did with Alandre. It was actually supposed to be an EP. We wanted to call it Legacy, something that we can leave behind. And yeah, it doesn't say the devil is a lie. You know, things just come and go, you know, ideas come and we couldn't just execute. And so I released the song, you know, Doomspera Spiral, the one which means as I breathe, I hope. And I was rapping in Swahili with a little bit of English. So as I breathe, I hope, you know, telling people that for as long as you have breath, there is hope. There's no hope for those who are dead. But as long as you breathe, there is hope. So we couldn't do that project. And it just died. And so after that, that's when I was still busy with doing my research work. It's like there were silent years. I just went silent. 2019, 2020 COVID, 2020. In the end, I got a job. I was in Kigoma. But during COVID, actually, I learned one thing. So actually, during COVID, I received a call from my friend. He's a producer. He's quite a very good producer. And he told me that, come to the studio. There's something I would like you to do. Normally, he calls me. I write songs. I write choruses for him, and he does them. So this time I got there, and I found a singer, a great singer, doing gospel. And that person was supposed to do a song. And it seems like the producer did not really like what that person wanted to do or what that person was doing. He wanted something fresh, something that is more urban. And so when he called me, I just went there and we just had a conversation, just talking about maybe what that person feels like, we just talked. That person did not know anything behind the scene. So when that person left, the producer called me and said, okay, here's the song. Listen, I want you to write this song. So I listened, I wrote that whole song. And he told me this song will be this person featuring this person. So I'm giving you the picture of both the two people, how they can collaborate in this song. So I wrote. So
you're writing a song for these two great artists.
Yeah. And
by that time, who wrote the song by that time? What, either of the artists?
No, I was done writing the song.
Okay, so it was like a plain beat.
Yes.
Okay.
So I wrote the song and I actually did the vocals. So, and some of the vocals, it was more of like an Afro-pop something. Some of the vocals were done by the producer himself, just a little bit. I would say I did more than 90% of that song. And so the next day that person came and heard the song, and that person was so excited. And actually that person was supposed to do verse 1 because it was the owner of the song. That person was like, no, I'm going to do the verse 2 because there was more energy in verse 2. But the way I wrote, because I know the people, the one is younger, so I wrote more energetic. So that way. And at that time, that's when I got a job in Kigoma. And around the same time, what happened is that I went to a studio, my friend's studio, Ike. And there was a young man who's a producer now. By that time, he was also a producer. He was doing a song. And that song was just full of nothing, I would say. Just talking about,
There's no content.
No content, the bubblegum music today. Just talking about, the shape of a woman and all the, erotic things. They didn't make any sense. I was listening and I told him, this can be done better. And it's like, I would say, it's like, how can I put it? Like, he gave me like an opportunity. And you know what? Take advantage of any opportunity comes into your life. Because I'll tell you what came from that opportunity. Then I'll come back to the song that I did with the producer for those other people. So at that time, when he left the studio, I erased all the vocals. And I did Tatagwamaka.
Whoa. That's where Tatagwamaka
came from. I did the first verse. And when he came back, he just listened to the first verse and the hook. It was like, this is your song. Finish it.
He gave you the song?
And he gave me the song. He said, finish it. It's your song. He told me, the delivery, everything. He just loved everything. And it's like, you know what? Finish the song.
Where did you pick the skill to... So you did the beats yourself?
No, I didn't do the beat myself.
It's the lyrics.
I found the beat and he had already put vocals on. So I didn't like the content. And I was like, something can be done better. And he's like, okay, if you think it can be done better, show me what can be done better. So he gave me the opportunity. And that's where Tatagwamaka came from.
So you reworked the lyrics?
And just ideas came, and I'll say just the Holy Spirit, because Tatagwamaka is a song that I wrote. It was just flowing. Wow. From the way, the lyrics, just the moment, it was the same day. He just left when he came back. It was like, this is your song. So I started writing second verse, and it was my song. So it was during that time Tatagwamaka came in the picture. And I was done. I wanted to do a video, and many things happened. I had fundraised. And that's another thing I learned, that you should be very faithful with the support that people have given you, because some things you need to do at a certain time. You need to be ready to do them at a certain time. By that time, I had already planned to do the video, and then I got a job, and then I left the city. So I couldn't do the video, and I was planning, okay, maybe when I come, if I get a holiday, I'll do the video. And it was, then many things happened down the way, but I won't get that story. And at the same time, the song which I did with the other producer for the two singers, the owner of that song, released the song and actually took ownership and, posted that the Holy Spirit led that person to write that song. And I was like, okay. But then I learned to forgive that time. I was hurt, but also I was energized because the song did very well and many people loved the song. So I came to realize that, you know what? I can do something, right? I can do something good. It doesn't matter, back to identity. Even if they don't appreciate you, but your work speaks. You know that it's your work and you can see the outcome. So it pushed me, that fire in my heart when I went to Kigoma, and when I came back after getting married, I came back to that, was not working. I just decided to seek God for about 5 good months. And the moment I finished that, and I was like, no, this is the time that I should start looking for a job. Then I was called to a job. I received a call and I went to the job. So then after that, I went to the launch of Aftermath, the album of Born Kings. Mm-hmm. And that day I listened to the album. And as I was listening to the album, I was pondering in my mind, in my heart. By that time, we were not just yet blessed with a child. I asked myself, is it possible? Not is it, I was asking myself, what would my children listen to? Because now I'm trying to think about the songs which are out there, those artists in the secular world, what they're singing. There's rubbish, there is nothing, there's no life in the music, just death. When I say death, because those things, some things, you're just telling you things that, nowadays most of the songs they're talking about divorces, talking about breaking up. Those are heart-aching things, which are just bringing depression and people committing suicide and all that. So what would my child listen to? All right, God has given me skills. What am I doing with them? So that's where the idea of Leo for KESHO started. I was like, whatever you reap, whatever you sow today, you reap tomorrow. So, wow. So let me start sowing for my child. And that Dear KESHO is a dedication to my son, Dear KESHO. And that's why in those lyrics you hear me saying, kijana jana, leo baba, kesho babu. Binti jana, leo mama, kesho bibi, ustajabu. Panda leo vune kesho, kesho kutwa mahesabu. So it just came to realize that today you're a young man, tomorrow you're a father, the day after tomorrow you're a grandparent, and you're gone. What's left of you? What's left for your children? So for me, that's what inspired me to do Leo for KESHO. And the moment I started that journey, many things happened. From things being stolen in the studio, to the point that computers are crashing in the studio. You're losing this data. You're going to do this project and you find out that this thing is missing and you can't find it anywhere. So actually it was supposed to be an album with more than 15 songs. But as you can see, I released with 11 songs. I reached a point to say, you know what, God, I'm just going to release this. You know what, I'm going to release it because I promised myself I will release an album. 11 songs are enough to be an album. I will release them. There's other songs I recorded. There's a song I recorded last year, December, and I was told it will be, I think December or if not January, and I was told it will be ready. It can be after I released the song. Actually, I received that song last month. So it reached a point where even my producer called me and said, we need to fast and pray. There are times when you make time, because now I'm working and all that, you make time, you're like, these days I will spend with the producer, and the producer gets sick. There's a time he got sick the whole week. He had diarrhea. Things happen. Remember, it was since 2022. But today we are talking about 2025. But I'm grateful. People don't see what's happening behind the curtains. But God sees the heart, God sees the passion, God sees whatever effort that we're putting, and God enables us. So to me, another lesson I learned in this journey is that there are things God allow to happen so that when we look back, we say it was God. It was not my mind, it was not my money. It was, matter of fact, we had a budget, good budget of money. And it was the time when
things went
wrong financially for me. I struggled a lot financially during the time I was making this album. Struggled a lot financially. But then God showed me that, you know what, you can do an album without even those finances.
Wow.
And God did it.
Wow.
And the album came out.
I never really knew the meaning of Leo for KESHO. You saying that it hits me so hard that what you sow today, you will reap tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I've not listened to the entire album, but I was washing the dishes. And then I put the speaker on and I was listening to the first song, Dear KESHO.
Yeah.
Whoa. Bars, there are bars in that song. And I don't remember the lines, but it felt like you tackled different things from marriage, there's a lot of character and content into that song.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to listen to the rest of the songs. And so at this section, I would like us to, I know you to be a husband and a father.
Yeah.
A husband of one wife, not two, not three, not four, not five. one wife and a father. And I know I mentioned something earlier that there's a way you carry yourself and there's an energy that I feel when I'm around you, and it speaks a lot of growth and maturity, and there's so many things that I can learn. They can learn too, people are watching. As a father with two sons.
Yes,
right?
I have 2 sons.
2 sons. And so there's rap, there's being a dad, there's being a father, there's football coach. You're dealing with, so you have 2 sons. Let's go there. You have 2 sons. Mm-hmm. You were a father of 2 sons, and then you're a football coach, you're dealing with men. And even from skimming through the form that you shared, or rather that we sent to you shared, there is manhood. There's a theme of manhood from what I read. And it feels like there is something that you've discovered about men and their place in the society. And I feel like there's something, or rather a message behind that. From your experience, what would you say the young men, me included, are overlooking, are not seeing, and the importance of men in the society?
Well, that's a good one. Something that I also have been learning in my journey. Manhood. I remember, many people, I would say many people assume that I read a lot of books.
I mean, from what you've been sharing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which made me actually say, you know what, I need to start reading books. But remember there's a year, the Logos Hope liner came to Tanzania a couple of years ago, apart from this year.
Logos Hope?
Logos Hope. There is that ship that comes.
Oh,
it's like a library.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I went, before this one, there's another one. There's another trip a couple of years ago when I was still, I remember I went and I bought 3 books. Out of the 3 books, 1 book I read, and I read it all. It was called Uncommon Manhood. And it inspired me because I'm an athlete, I love athletics, and the person who wrote was an American football coach. And he was speaking about, he is the first black man to win to win the what they call the Super Bowl, something like that, as a player and as a coach. But I was talking about many times people highlight the successes. Like no one was talking about the years that passed in the middle between winning it as a captain, as a player, and winning it as a coach. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things. There are a lot of setbacks. There are a lot of battles that he fought. So it's like a league. Someone might win the league, but there are matches that person has lost. There are matches he has drawn. but the lessons he learned, he picked himself up, and the matches that he has won. So when I was studying that subject, it opened my mind that actually, coming to reality, there's a lot of problem in manhood and fatherhood in our society all over the world. And just in a nutshell, let's talk about me and you. Let's just talk about us. I'm thinking, you know, in our culture, where we grow up, it's like men will just figure it out.
Absolutely.
So we're not trained to become men. We're just figuring out how to become men. Ooh. Women are prepared. Even before we get married, women get even kitchen parties. Mothers talk to their daughters. They tell them some very deep things. Some of them, if they can't say it, they will call an aunt and they will talk to them. But for men, just keep figuring out. And the day you're about to marry this woman, and someone will stand, if it's a father, if it's an uncle, then they will speak for 15 minutes giving you advice of how to live with this woman till death do you part. Yeah. So you can see that there's a gap, okay? Growing up as a young man or as a boy, if you come home late, or if they won't see you for a couple of hours, they won't mind. They say, we'll figure it out, you'll be back home. But if a girl is missing for a couple of minutes, and it better not be dark, they will start looking. Why? So the eye was more into, but then it's the same man that this man is the foundation of the family.
Yo.
You know, I came to learn that actually fatherhood, it's about being the foundation. And foundation is not up, it's down. You know, the father is not the head of the family, he's the foundation of the family. He's carrying that family. Now, we are actually, which I'm not saying it's bad, we're dealing with women, yes. But women are getting a lot of information of who they are, what should they do, you know, coming to marriage and all that in their life, in the society, how they you know. But then the foundations are not being, how can I put, we're not putting concrete on the foundation. We're not making them better. We're not attaching them, you know, to the rock. We're not mentoring these foundations. So that means the family that is coming, it will be broken because there's no foundation. And the Bible tells us, when you read the book of Matthew, when Jesus was when he was preaching in the Sermon on the Mount, he comes to wind up in chapter 7. And he says, whoever hears these words and put them into practice will be like the wise man who built on the rock. You know, sometimes I'm a linguistic man, so sometimes these translations, you know, in Swahili nasema mtu mwenye akili. I don't like that translation because akili and wisdom are two things. It says in English, wise man, it's correct, because the opposite of wise is foolish. That's why I say the other one will be like a foolish man. Wisdom is actually putting God's word into practice. So if you practice what I've just said, you'll be a wise man who built on the foundation. And the other one who was heard but did not apply will be like a foolish man. But these houses, all of them experience the same things. What it means that these things, these turmoils, everything will hit us just because they hit us to test if we are strong enough to withhold. Now, that's why many families are broken, because they are not built in a foundation strong enough to withhold all these crises that are coming to us. That's why today many boys, men are in jail. Why? Crises have swept them in jail. There are many, I say today in our society, there are many women, I don't know, so you may understand. There are many mothers, all right? Single mothers who are not widows. Let me put it that way.
Single mothers.
Who are not widows.
Who are not widows.
That means there's a father somewhere. He's not dead.
Oh yeah.
He's not dead. He's alive.
But they're single mothers.
But these are single mothers. There's no child who comes on earth without a father.
Absolutely.
So they're not widows.
Well, one who came. but he had a father, Heavenly Father. Just
Yeah, all of them has a father, because the father is a source. Yeah, somewhere you came from. You know, and the sad part, I would say, is that God punishes sons for the sin of the fathers, not of the mothers.
Ooh.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, because we transfer the seed, that seed carries your DNA. So what are we passing? So that means if we're not a strong foundation, what are we passing down? You cannot give what you don't have.
Absolutely.
Okay? So if by this age I'm empty and I get married, what am I giving to my son?
Ooh.
Okay? What am I giving to my son? So you find that it's a crisis, I would say. We're in a crisis. And as I say, because men were a foundation, because the foundation of a family is a man, the foundation of a society is a family, foundation of a nation is a community, right? So the devil is smart enough, he's just dealing with the root. And this is the root of all these problems you're seeing today. And these problems cannot be tackled by a woman. I'm sorry to say this. Some people might think maybe I'm, no. Just being real. Because that's why they say it takes a woman, it takes a mother to raise a boy. But it takes a father to raise a man. Because you cannot give what you don't have. A woman does not have manhood.
Woo!
So it takes a man, okay, to give manhood to another man, to pass what he, you know, to build a man. That's why if a child messes up in the society, we call him mama's boy, not mama's man, mama's boy, because all that mothers can do is to raise a boy. And a boy, here's the funny part, a boy, it means someone who's not matured.
Absolutely.
When a boy turns to a man, then he is matured.
When his daddies.
So maturity is built by a father into that young man to become, because a father is a person who is already matured. Because that's what I call maturity, because a tree which is matured is the one that bears fruits. If that tree has not yet matured, we won't see no fruits. So if he's still a boy, we ain't seeing no fruits. But then, growing up is given. I mean, growing old is given. Growing up is a choice. Now, what choices are we giving these boys? What are we giving them to choose? Because sometimes we're just giving them better. We're giving them lesser evil to choose. We're not giving them the real thing to choose.
Lesser evil. Yeah. That is... Ish.
And the sad part is that only real recognizes real. So Absolutely. If they're not exposed to real, what do they know?
So how do we help our boys, or not yet men, to become or to take that path to maturity and become a strong foundation for the society that we have right now? We have so many things going on right now. There's a lot of technological advancement. There's this, there's that, there's other weird things happening. In the midst of all that noise, where some do not have access, or rather they do not have their, so to say, biological father to father them into that place. Some do have, but they're not really concrete to be able to pass that down. So at this place where we are right now, what do we do?
Number one, we need to know the Father first, for us who are Christians, because like Jesus is teaching us. When you read the book of John, he's talking about the relationship between him and the Father. He says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. We need to know God, all right? Because my boss reminds us every day where I work, because I work in a Christian school, and she says, you know, to some of these kids, you are the only Jesus they see. So be that Jesus in their lives. Because that's what it means to be a Christian, to be Christ-like. So that when they see, they say, we've seen Jesus through seeing you, Kelvin. But how can they see Jesus if I don't even know Jesus? I need to know this Jesus. I need to be Jesus to them. I need to know the Father so that I may be Father to them, not just to my children, but also to other children who are yearning to see a Father. Some of them, they barely see even their dads. Fathers were very busy, yes, grinding, yeah, getting money for these children, but that money ain't gonna make that child come from boyhood to manhood. It needs your time. No, it needs you to pass some manhood in him. So for me, I'm learning these things. And I thank God for the opportunity, because sometimes we face crisis, but that crisis is opportunity. Even right now, as I'm talking to you, today I spent all day with my son because I don't have a dad at home. So sometimes I'm forced to come home early. So there are things I have to sacrifice to be there for my sons. So then later I came to realize, sometimes I pray to God, God, you know what, I want to be a very good father. So, and here's the funny part, when you ask God for courage, God does not give courage from heaven to you, but he gives you an opportunity to be courageous. So because I asked God to be a good father, he's giving me the opportunity. Then I came to realize these are opportunities to actually spend time with my children. So I spend a lot of time, especially with my older son, because now he's walking, he's talking. So the first words that comes from his mouth is daddy. Whenever I come back home, daddy, this, that. He gives me a report. We talk, we laugh, he talks to me and I can feel it. And I'm like, thank you, God. My son is lucky. Not lucky, I say he's blessed. And then the Bible tells us to do unto others what we want others to do unto them. And now I'm looking at what my son is getting from me, and I wish other sons would get that. Some don't have that opportunity, which we encounter them. What are we doing? So, like you say, one way of actually tackling this issue is us ourselves who are walking there. We need to be the image. We need to carry that fatherhood image out there. When kids look at us in the street, they see a father. But if he does not have a father at home, if he's coming from a broken home, at least he'll look somewhere and say, you know what? There is someone who is inspiring me to become a better person. I'm learning also, I'm still in the journey. I'm learning every day. I was reading, actually I came from finishing the book, Fatherhood Principles by the late Miles Monroe. I love that book. And I kept it in my heart that I'll be reading that book every year. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves every year, and to also go back and just learn more from Jesus Christ's relationship with his Father, so that I may know how I can form a relationship with my son. And not just my son, because whoever God brings in your life, he wants you to touch that person. He wants you, not as he's using you, I'm sure not, because it's not you who's that, he's using you to touch that person's life for his glory. So I feel like we need to know more, because and here's the secret. I learned one thing, that there are three currencies in this world. There's time, money, and knowledge. So if you don't have one, use the two to get one. If you don't have the knowledge, then use your time and money. Get the book, go read, use your internet, use the money and use your time to gain that knowledge. So yeah.
Yo, this is why I say that I think you should have your own podcast, bro.
Amen.
Okay.
Learning from you, bro.
There is so many. If we would have taken time for everything that you've said, bro, I think would have come out with a course out of this, because there's so many layers, there's so many depths to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just a statement, because any statement, you can take a quote from anybody, but it speaks a lot when it comes from somebody who has gone through the experience. Mm-hmm. So when you take a quote from somebody, like Bill Gates can say something amazing and like, wow, this is great. Take the same statement with somebody from across the street to say the same thing. Mm-hmm. You'll be like, yay. So the weight of it is the experience and what God has taken you through. And even to talk about manhood and boy to man, mothers and fathers, understanding that the foundation becomes strong when it's founded by the founder, and that is God.
Yeah.
Like, so if you have the founder himself founding the foundation, or making or building the foundation, that is a solution to the society. Yeah. And you've really helped me too, because and that you're a husband and you're also a father, and you're not just fathering your children, but you're also fathering children that you're coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, it creates a certain element of understanding, okay, the root of so many of the things that are going on in the society is really upon me as a man. Like, what am I doing about it? What's my level of KESHO, right? What am I doing right now?
Yeah.
And even the elderly, what are they doing to us, their children, right? Or should do.
Mm-hmm.
And that speaks a lot. And as we come into the close, I have said I've listened to Leo for KESHO, and I really want to go listen to that, because when I was listening to that album, I've always desired, I've listened to rappers that I listen to.
Yeah.
Lecrae, Andy Meneo, Triple H. I don't listen to Triple H as much nowadays, but Andy Meneo, Lecrae, I listen a lot to KB when I work out. Like, I love listening to KB. The beauty of rap is the lyrics. Like, sometimes I don't even need the beat. I can just go read the lyrics. There's some rap music that you listen to, like, this is speaking to me.
Yeah.
I love writing too. And maybe I've thought about writing rap here and there.
You should.
I thought about writing rap here and there. I used to call them spoken word, but I love it when it rhymes. And not just it rhymes, but there's content in the rhyme. It's not just for the sake of the rhyming. Maybe I should do that sometime soon.
It's never too late.
I should consult you.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are watching or listening from different parts of social media, it has been real. It has been a really good conversation, deep, profound. And you can go and listen to his album that came out just recently, Leo for KESHO. It's found on AudioMac and SoundCloud. So in the description, you'll find a link to both of those platforms. Also, you can follow G-Stana as Stanalizer, right?
Yeah, Stanalizer.
At Stanalizer, which is STANN.
STANALIZER.
Okay, so that will also be on the description. And thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming. And I really enjoyed the conversation. But until next time, you're with your host, Kevin Matili, and your guest,
G-Stana, Gwakisa Mwambungu.
And this is Thrive 365 Podcast. See you in the next episode.